Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. The Shrimp Tank is a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, and Spotify. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, www.doubleellc.com, for past shows, plus great information if you want to learn more how to invest and protect your family and assets. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have some very good friends of mine. It's my favorite restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, the Red Drum. The founders, owners, Ben Berryhill and Charlie Chance. Ben's from Texas and Charlie's from Iowa. These guys are in boots today. They're in sport coats. It's one day I didn't decide to wear a sport coat. And these guys just look cool. You guys look really, really cool. And Ben has this beautiful, long pony hair. Is that what you? Is that how they say it?
Pony hair. Gray pony hair.
And you know what's cool? Well, look, first, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome Ben and Charlie.
Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. One thing that I'm excited about is I think you guys could have your own show, the Ben and Charlie Show or the Charlie Ben Show, because you both have very good DJ voices. Like I manipulate my voice for the show.
Do you?
Yeah.
I had a guest tell me that the other day.
You have
She's like, it's the most magical made for TV or radio voice.
You do.
And so when you call the Red Drum, I'm actually the one that you hear saying our hours of operation and da-da-da-da-da. And people are always like, oh, you're the one that, when I answer the phone, they're like, you're the one that that was on the recording. It was the most magical voice I've ever heard.
Well, you both have it. The Charlie and Ben Show with special guest Eric Elkins. I mean, you guys could do your own show, but we're not here to talk about DJing. I'm still, I can tell Ben's just kind of like, what the hell is going to go on here? But we're going to have a good time with you two. One, we've been trying to book you on the show for years, and due to schedule conflicts, it just hasn't worked out, and you guys are so busy. But I would love to go into your past and your history, but it's two people, and we don't have enough time. I only reserve the studio for an hour. And so we have to get kind of fast forward where we are today. But we have these two gentlemen who were partners, been partners for what, 20 years?
18. Well,
Kind of
I mean,
20.
It really is 20 because it took a couple of years to get the restaurant built, and we were highly involved in the actual construction and building of the restaurant together. So yeah, 20 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah, literally. Sawzalls
my
and
brother,
hammers.
My brother from another.
So how did you guys even meet?
So I was in Houston, and a friend of mine retired to Sullivan's Island, and he called out of the blue and said, hey, he's an English guy. His name is Kevin Ball. He said, mate, I've got the perfect spot for a restaurant. And we were, at the time, Marianne and I were looking to get out of Houston. We wanted to have a family, and I didn't really.
Did you have a restaurant at the time in Houston?
No, we were both. Mariana was the general manager and sommelier at a place called Cafe Annie in Houston, and I ended up being the executive chef there, and where I worked under my mentor. Mariana was there a little more than 12 years. I was there 11 years or so, and we worked under a really unbelievable guy named Robert Del Grande, PhD in biochemistry, chef, kind of ivory tower chef. Like, the guy is amazing. Anyway, so we got this call, and we were ready to do something on our own. We flew down here, and I met Charlie on that first trip. Kevin had known Charlie through Dunleavy's?
Through Dunleavy's, because where do English guys like to hang out?
Dunleavy's.
Pubs.
Yeah.
Right. So I was a bartender there for 10 years and kind of had always wanted, I was very into to beer and brewing and brewed a lot of beer on my own and always thought it'd be really cool to open up some kind of brew pub or something of that nature.
You're married then too at the time?
No, yeah, we were, yeah.
Well, yeah, when Kevin,
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry. So one day he just came to me and goes, mate, what we need to do is open up a proper pub in Mount Pleasant. But pubs have really bad food.
It's
we need
like
good food.
This is like I don't know if I like this imitation. It's like a black Irish man Southerner or something.
Well, Kevin was he's a little rough around the edges. He was a fascinating story in itself. He's from Northern England. He didn't get through junior high. The coal mining town story kind of dried up. Anyway, he learned a craft to be a mason, and he became a master plasterer and went to Houston and built like a $25 million plaster company. In fact, the U.S. government came after him because he had a kind of a monopoly. He was the head supplier of plaster supplies, and he was the head contractor. And so they kind of broke him up, and that's when he moved to Sullivan's Island. He sold part of his business and moved to Sullivan's Island.
Is he still on Sullivan?
No, he's in the mountains now. He sold his house on Sullivan's, and he travels a lot. He's got a place in the Bahamas and a place in the mountains. And anyway, the guy's a fascinating guy. 3 boys, all super great.
This isn't about Kevin. Let's move on. This guy. I want to talk about Charlie Chance and Ben Berryhill.
Well, that's how we came together through Kevin.
Okay.
So
you guys
he introduced us,
and then you guys decide I have this dream. I want to start my own restaurant.
So he was a partner in the real estate at 803 Coleman Boulevard. Showed us the spot. We sat in the parking lot I sat in the parking lot for 15 minutes, and he was like, Volvo, Mercedes, Ferrari.
I like your accent.
He goes, this is going to be the new Rodeo Drive, mate.
Rodeo Drive, that's right.
Remember that?
So anyway, so long story short, the Red Drum was kind of the spin on the name was like an English pub. Like in England, you have, the brown trout or the spotted pig or so the Red Drum being the fish that's indigenous that everybody's fishing for here. Was kind of where, and we were initially we were going to kind of be a gastro pub, and then I just got tired of explaining to people what a gastro pub was, and then we just kind of evolved into
just kind
bar
of
and restaurant more.
We
dropped that
just
part.
Went to Red Drum Restaurant.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, every great pub, everyone kind of spins the name the way. It's like, like at Dunleavy's, it was the Levee. Mm-hmm. So eventually
the
drum, exactly, and it became
Or the bloody bucket.
right, as we jokingly called it at times. But it really the goal was to really have it be a true local neighborhood spot.
And I think we've accomplished
It really evolved into what we wanted it to
Well,
be.
I will totally validate that. For those of you that we have listeners all over the world, just so you know.
Sure.
And when you come to Charleston, most of these tourists that come to Charleston, they're going to have dinner at these places such as Husk and
Great restaurant.
Magnolias and Snob, et cetera, et cetera. They're all very good.
They are, yes.
But if you want to go to where the locals, you want to go where I go, and you want to see me, then you should go to Red Drum because
Get pickle
More
juice.
importantly, if you
pickle
want to
juice
see,
in your vodka.
if you want to see gin,
if you want to see my beautiful wife Jennifer, she's there. But one, I just want to give some props out because the food there is absolutely always consistent, always amazing. I don't think there's anyone in the world who has better fried shrimp as an appetizer than you guys, but I don't even get it fried anymore. I just get it grilled, and it's delicious. The sauce, the crab tostadas or tostitos or whatever you want, however I'm supposed to say it, amazing. The tuna poke, ridiculous. Do you guys still have the tortilla soup?
Yes, it's kind of by request and for private events, but yeah, we still have it around.
Oh.
So I'll make it for you anytime.
It's delicious,
Yeah, we always have it,
unbelievable. And then you have to get the enchilada, regardless of what the special is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way to go. My wife has to get the chicken. Your filet is probably, if you're looking for a steak, it's probably top 3 places in South Carolina to get a steak. But a lot of them don't know that.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, so there are not a lot of wood burning grills, and that's kind of the heart and soul of the kitchen is the wood burning grill. So a lot of steaks and fish and things come off of the grill, and it really adds that extra something.
Oh, and your fish special is always, it's just hard for me not to get the enchilada. So my point is, if you're coming to Charleston, you live in Charleston, and you haven't gone to Red Drum, you need to go. You're missing out.
Thank you.
Period. It's if people say, give me 5 restaurants to go to in Charleston, it's always in my top 5.
Thank you.
Hands down.
Thank you.
So and then the way you get treated there is ridiculous.
You know, when we opened, it was our. Everybody was like, "Oh, who's your competition?" And it was always the restaurants you mentioned. Like our competition is to try to prevent people from driving over the bridge to go downtown. Mm-hmm. Instead, we wanted to have an option, for people to stay on this side. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it was Hannah Raskins called it. Who was it?
Yeah, it was a girl for all seasons.
Yeah, Red Drum's a girl for all seasons because you can kind of you can get a burger or a quesadilla and ceviche, or you can come in and get wood grilled ribeye or pork chop or.
Oh yeah,
or
I don't eat
special.
pork chops, but everybody talks about how great your pork chop is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole goal was, we said, from flip flops to tuxedos. Mm-hmm. It was like, if you're coming off the beach, you can have a beer and a burger, or it could be a very special date night, or it could be very business oriented, which we get a ton of that.
A lot more now than we did when we opened.
Pretty bad. Well, Charleston's really grown in that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, let me ask you this, because I have a lot of questions revolving around the restaurant, but I'm going to forget if I don't ask this. Thursday nights at Red Drum have been known to be this place for single people to go.
I think it was Wednesday. night.
Oh, is it Wednesday?
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is it still Wednesday?
No, I think that
Seems
honestly,
like it's like a lot of nights for y'all now.
I just think
Well, how did that even happen?
so. This is how it happens. So,
You don't like this
I
part.
hate this story.
right? Well,
Go ahead.
but my version of the story, in my opinion, is actually
And understand, this
because
is
it was very organic. So
their restaurant. I can't emphasize how phenomenal the food is. So don't take what's about to be said.
yeah. So here's how this whole thing evolved, right? So we just opened and we're trying to figure out like, hey, how do we make the middle of the week busy? And we're just still sorting out, who we are, what are our kind of nights that we want to plug. Well, I used to be in a band with a good friend of mine, David Murphy, and he was an amazing pianist or
Still is.
organ player, plays around town still. And once we got involved with the Red Drum, and kids and married, and just that time was gone. So we were like, middle of the week, how do we make the middle of the week busy? So I'm like, you know what? Let's get Murph and the band he's now in to play on Wednesday nights. And he actually had a legit Hammond B organ in his house, which I don't know if you've seen these things, but they're like
Is that like the baseball organ or like a church organ?
Yes, exactly. I mean, these things are massive. You don't move them around.
So it lived at the Red Drum.
Lived at the Red Drum, and it was the Red Dog Ramblers.
Red Dog Ramblers. Yeah.
Yep, Ben Edwards, Gaines, K-Rock, Kevin Austin. And I mean, and those guys are all local guys too, and
super talented.
So talented, amazing band, and they played every Wednesday night there, and it just blew.
Are they playing outside on the porch, or are they playing
inside? They were in
They're
the
inside
fireplace room in the pub room.
Oh,
and that place was packed.
That organ lived there, and it just blew up.
To the point where we had to have a bouncer on the front door, a bouncer on the back door. It was
Really?
just-
It turned clubby.
It turned clubby, and so being the chef, where I have the focus on the food, I'll back up. It's what saved us and kept us going and sustained us in the beginning because we were selling so much through the bar. It took time for us to build the reputation of offering the food.
Yeah,
as
killer
well.
food,
Right.
killer service, right? I mean, that's what a real restaurant
It's
does.
really, in my opinion, it's flipped a lot. That being said, it set the bar up and it set the restaurant up. When you walk into the restaurant, as you know, you walk into the bar. And so it really set it up for that kind of cheers feeling where the bartenders know that you like pickle juice in your vodka.
Yes.
You know,
They have the
kinda-
best pickle juice
which is like
ever.
really odd to me. But anyway,
It's so good. And I got to give props to Eli.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
no one who makes that.
The man.
and
Better.
you know, just the whole team there. And so anyway, in the beginning from the Wednesday night on, we built a culture there. And I think in the pre-interview, Chase and I were talking about, you know, what does it take to keep a good team together? It's all about building the right culture. And
Was that a hard? It sounds like it kind of was. Was it a hard time? I know you've been. I know how attention to detail you are. Almost like an engineer kind of feel a little bit sometimes. Did y'all clash? Because at that, I'm just curious. Did you clash ever at that time? Because you got all these people coming in, they're partying, and they hypothetically the food is getting overlooked. Ben went to the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, which is one of the most famous culinary universities in the world. Outside, I mean, I guess that's the number one place in the U.S. And then you have the Cordon Bleu or whatever in France. I don't. But at the end of the day, when you graduate from CIA, you are very considered legitimate chef. So, are you struggling with this thing because you're like, I'm a chef?
you know that they called me. I had a nickname. They called me Safety Hana. Like, I'm very safety conscious, and I always felt like we were skating a little bit on the edge there.
Yeah.
And it was another kind of place and time. Like, we wouldn't get away with, you know, kind of everything, the crowd, everything that were going on there. So there was a little bit of a clash, I think. And Charlie and I've had our moments, if that's what you mean. But there was always this balance between the bar and the kitchen. And I kind of ruled the food coming out like with an iron fist. I was pretty, I was pretty adamant about what we were going to represent and what we weren't going to represent. And I wasn't interested in just doing whatever somebody wanted. It had to be within reason. It had to be within our ability. We had to have the product, et cetera. And Charlie, Charlie really taught me that there's a real mastery, and Eli, guys like that, Hank Cagle, who was one of our opening bar guys, who owns the Southern now, taught me there's a real balance between keeping the party going and joining the party and being a part of the party. And Charlie was really a master at kind of keeping it on the edge without going over the line. And we were eventually we had to back down.
Yeah.
The Wednesday night, we had to shut it down. It was just because it was going over the edge and kind of spiraled a little bit beyond what we wanted to control. I mean, you don't want to be out in the middle of the bar breaking up a fight. There's nothing worse than that. Now we have security guards and
I didn't know you had all that back then.
Oh yeah,
It was a
wild.
unique place and time.
Yeah.
Because as you recall, prior to 2009, the economy was, it was blowing up.
Booming.
Real estate. I mean, everybody in there were, realtors, lawyers doing closings,
Bankers,
laying down
mortgage guys.
Amexes, going, I'll take this whole nook area over here, and I got everybody's tab.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Which I think, which is one of to me, Charlie's one of the greatest.
He's a front door man for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, Charlie Chance. I mean, Charlie's gonna just take care of things, and manage it. And you're very talented on that front.
Well,
I mean, it's a very interesting team here.
Well, Charlie's strength is his weakness as well, and I'm sure he'll say the same about me. But like Charlie, when he walks up to your table, you are the only thing he sees. He completely. I'm at your table. I see 50 other things going on around, and I'm just like. But Charlie's just like he's so great at giving himself to someone's experience and making you feel like you're the only person there, kind of
Agreed.
thing.
But
So-
there's sort of like, for me, there's kind of philosophically a fine line there. Like, I do give you everything, but at the same time, I don't like overly groping the guest. And I use dropping food as kind of the ruse to my ability to enter into your world without you feeling like
No, you
that
don't.
it's insincere. So that, for me, that's like, I don't like coming off as being like insincere, and I feel like
I think you either have that or you don't.
No,
You can't
I
fake
agree.
that.
yeah. Well, I agree, 100%. So
And you don't ever overextend your stay and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think one of the worst things that humans can do, especially if I'm using the restaurant business, is the chef or the owner, they come over and then they see, oh, you got the pork chop. Isn't that delicious? Well, how am I supposed to answer that?
I have to tell the servers all the time. Like I'm a real stickler for that kind of stuff. Like that drives me nuts. It's like you don't suggest to them that they're enjoying their experience. You need to ensure that they are and ask that they are, and then if they aren't, then we have to do whatever we have to do to take care of that. So you get servers coming through there every once in a while who've had kind of other training and other experiences, but I agree with you. That's a really cheeseball.
I find that's where the restaurant business ends up failing so often, is the owner can't take negative feedback, can't listen to anything, and thinks that
That's why I filter it all through Charlie.
well, and it's very important to listen.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, I will say, the last 10 years of Google and Yelp really driving the consumer to basically to say, hey, what give a review. Reviews are great. They give you a gauge of where you're at. But if something is truly not correct, then don't leave and write a review. The best thing you can do is to tell us
exactly
what is wrong, because we are human and we are not perfect. And which actually gets to one of Ben's great things with the servers that he always says, don't ask if everything's perfect, because nothing in the world is ever perfect. So, to me, the greatest thing, we want to hear what people have to say, good and bad. And we particularly want to hear if something's not right, because we want to make it right. And we also want to know where in the system we broke down. Because every day, as Ben always says, every day communication is breaking down all around you.
Nonstop.
And you're all, because it's a very fluid environment in a restaurant. Things are always in motion. And so you're always having to figure out, where people are not communicating correctly. And that's typically where the problems arise.
Guys, you are enjoying another great episode of the Shrimp Tank Charleston, but we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Attention. Do you own a whole life or universal life insurance policy? Were you told to expect a big tax-free nest egg at retirement, or that dividends will pay for the policy instead of you? Agents frequently sell products like this that are profitable for them, but not for you. Let Double E audit your policy at no cost. Call now to find out how Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions can help you. 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial, Double E LLC, and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, guys, to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, as well as founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. I use the Shrimp Tank Charleston platform to continue elevating my life as well as our clients' lives, whether it's from networking with these guys like Charlie and Ben or connecting clients with our Shrimp Tank guests to opening doors for investment opportunities. If you want to reach out to me and be a potential guest on the show, please go to our website, www.doubleellc.com, and go to the Contact Us page. So we've been sitting here talking to Ben Berryhill and Charlie Chance of the Red Drum Restaurant, Berryhill Farms, the Rocket Burger food truck, and hearing about just the life of being in the restaurant business or just running a business. And you before we went to break, you were talking about the all these moving obstacles and things that are happening in the restaurant business, which is in all businesses, but I think probably you get a really good education because it's nonstop between you're constantly having employees in and out. Like you're having high school guys, you're having, and I'm curious when it comes to dealing with employees that are not typically long-standing. How do you pivot and adjust to that? Because it would be so aggravating to train someone and then gone.
I'm going to kick this off, but I really want Charlie to address it because he's really pushed us in this direction. But the thing that saved us during COVID, it's so crazy. We couldn't get anybody to work, but high school kids, we could get to work. And so they show up and they're a blank slate. And Charlie had a couple kids in high school. I had a kid in high school. And it was just, we tapped into these local schools here. And so you're right. We would train them and then they eventually go on and they graduate. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they work for us during the summer or the holidays, but they always remain loyal and part of the team and part of the culture. They bring us other people, other staff, and then they have kids and they're customers but Charlie really cultivated that whole high school network that we had. You mix that in with professionals, people that are like Eli or Bridget or Mary Catherine, or, you mix them in with some strong leadership and you set up parameters and goals for them.
Well, you do have to have those, luckily we've had these pillars of long-standing employees like Eli and James and Mary Catherine, and I mean, just go down the list. And so
Jillian
in the kitchen. Yeah. But being in this business, you do have to be open to the constant rotation, and the high school population is, I kind of look at it like minor league baseball. If you get a couple really great, hardworking, committed high school kids. In we're 18 years in, right? So in 3 years, they're in college, and then you start culturing them to be potential waiters. Maybe it's something a little more casual like brunch. They're not quite ready for dinner, or they're a bar back or a service bartender making drinks, but not necessarily serving the customers. And then in another 2 years, they're ready, and then they become these 8-10-year employees. And I could just go down and list of them. And, and we always say, Ben says it a lot, like, we know you're not going to be here forever. We know this is a springboard for you to put yourself through college, through grad school. And we have seen that countless times. I mean, Caitlin Kammerer.
Oh, man. Just people who have been key employees over the years who still... we could call up right now and be like, "Hey, we're in a pinch. Could you guys come help us out?" But they can do every job in that restaurant.
Literally,
they started as high school kids, and they know every single position, all the way to being able to manage Taylor and Caitlin.
Right.
Good floor managers, like really good,
really great, amazingly talented people, and we've cultured a family environment there. And
I agree. I mean,
they call us family, and so they treat us as such, and vice versa. And again, when we're in a pinch and we need something, we can call these folks, and they're there to help us out because they feel that we've given them equal of what they put in. Like they're like, man, you guys really are just the greatest people that we've. I hear it all the time, and I'm not tooting our horn.
I don't hear it so much, but he hears that.
I do. It's really to me, it's probably the most fulfilling part of what we've done through this restaurant. I mean, truly watching all of these folks grow into becoming young adults, and then having their kids. And then their kids are working for us now. I mean, it's so gratifying to see this.
It's interesting. A lot of people ask us, hey, how come y'all haven't gone to Charlotte or Columbia or, like a lot of these other restaurant groups have done in Charleston, and they've done it really well. But I think for me, this is the only way I know how to do it. I only know how to be that involved and that hands-on. And the idea of being able to multiply that to me seems overwhelming. Like I wouldn't be able to control or wouldn't be able to steer the culture in a direction that I felt is like really healthy and contributing. And, so, I think that's probably one of the reasons that
when you say you don't know how to do that, because when I look at Red Drum and the recipe, especially the menu, the recipe of the culture and all that kind of stuff, in my mind, it seems like obvious that you could open up another location, hypothetically, I'll just say Somerville. Mm-hmm. And when you say, I just don't know how they do that. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's anything to do with a control factor? Because
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because realistically, most of these restaurant groups have the Ben of the world, but then they really have some CEO that's like, here's what we're going to do. Get over this.
Well, I've often thought that if we could connect with the right group or right situation, that we could, kind of do that. But I think another piece of it for me is we looked really seriously at doing something in Charlotte at one point. And I think it probably would have done really well. But it was a time when Raymond was in school, and I'm like, man, I'm going to be spending time burning up the road to Charlotte while my kid is I'm missing out on being a dad and, all that kind of stuff. So,
that was the choice. It really was. And we were already missing out on a lot of our kids' stuff.
Anyway, because the business is so demanding.
Yeah. And you got to remember, 2009, 10, 11, I mean, it was a slow crawl.
Ugh,
and we had to be
brutal.
Yeah, we had to be there and cut out all the big fat paychecks and overhead and really make it work until the sales crawl back, and they did. And so yeah, it was a choice that we kind of made too, to say, hey, where's this quality of life that we're going to spend time with our families, because remember, this is a nighttime business.
Right. I was going to ask you.
It's a weekend business.
The first 10 years of the business, how many days a week did you work?
Let me tell you what. The first...
Well, 6 because we were closed 1.
Yeah. But
so it was...
But I was... The first 2-3 years, even on the closed days, I'm in there prepping. I mean, I worked insane hours. It was crazy. And we all have, and it's just, I look at my life now. So we've taken on another project. We haven't talked about it at all, but we've taken on a consulting partnership with a group in the Abacos on Elbow Key, Sea Spray Marina and Resort. And when we determined whether or not we were going to do this project, it came back to the same question we had to ask ourselves on the Charlotte deal. Because I mean, it's a real trek to get to the Bahamas and back, and it takes some time out of your life. But ultimately, the answer was we felt like that would be a spot where our families could go and where we could have some family time and enjoy time there. and that's why ultimately, we did it. We're 8 months or 9 months in now, maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah, just almost a year.
A year in, and
getting there,
and it hasn't really turned out that way.
It's going to be,
but it will.
It will.
You can see where that is going to happen.
It's 3 year. It's a 3 year project, and of course, in the Bahamas, that means 4. But when you build a restaurant, that means tack on 6 months to a year. It's all relative, right? So, but I think that time will come, and there has been so much joy, truly, in learning a different skill set and how things work in a different culture, and the people we've met who are now beautiful people who are now our friends and our employees.
They've really it's really changed me. Honestly, it's changed my management style. It's changed, it's really, I think stylistically, I'm a very in the front kind of manager. Like not front of the house, but like I'm in it. Like I'm in the mix.
Ben's a driver.
I'm a driver. Yeah. And so what this has taught me a little bit, is to kind of step back a little bit, listen a little bit more, pick my windows, pick my opportunities. I feel like I've become a much better manager because of the experience.
Just because of the slower pace that they have typically out there?
Well, it's, they communicate differently. You're right. The pace is differently, but they have these challenges that like people go over there and like, it's the Bahamas. You can't get this. You can't. It's like a lot of people kind of have this negative, but what I don't think people realize is how incredibly difficult it is to just get product there.
Yep.
It's even more difficult even for a lot of these staff members that we have. They're phenomenal people just to get to work. I mean, they get up, they feed their kids, they take their kids to school, then they go get on a ferry, then they ferry across. There's a limited ferry,
right? And then you got to go pick them up at the ferry dock. Then you got to get them down to Sea Spray, the work site, and it's 10:30 a.m.
And it's like I'm up at 6 a.m. I take a cold shower every morning, and I'm ready to. I'm like, let's get it done. And
you listen to all the Shrimp Tank podcasts.
I do that
episodes
whenever I drive.
Reruns everything over and over and over.
Yeah. Actually, they are really good.
Thank you, thank you. Well, this is going to be another great episode that we're having with you guys. So I look forward to when it gets published and what we and all the views and all the people, and then the masses come into Red Drum because of the promo code. Promo code, when you go, so what Charlie and Ben agreed to before the show was when you walk into Red Drum and you say Shrimp Tank, they will give you a Chopin on the rocks with a splash of pickle juice.
And one fried shrimp, just to tease you into ordering a whole order.
All you have to do is say Shrimp Tank. Make sure that you find Charlie or Ben, and you have to say it to
Charlie.
one of them. And that's one of the things. Thank you guys for agreeing to do that. It's very nice of you. But all right, so when it comes to dealing with the restaurant world, or just dealing with the business of a company and running a company, I'm curious, is there something that you look back on and you go, man, we had this idea and we tried to implement this or do that, and it just completely failed? Do you have one of those?
Sure.
What is that story?
Well, so we've been through some ups and downs in the business. The crash of 2008 and then the COVID, and we kind of know what it's like to kind of dig out. What you do during those periods is you just push to remain relevant. I think it's like this Shrimp Tank setup you have. This gives you relevance. It's like it's creative. It's people talking about what it takes to succeed, et cetera. So throughout those experiences, we've thrown a lot of spaghetti up on the wall to see
what sticks.
What sticks, and not everything has. And some things I thought, oh, this is the best idea. So we opened another restaurant at one point, which is where Cantina is now.
Yeah.
It
Two
was,
doors down.
Yeah, it was J Bistro, and then it was
Samos.
Yep. And then we took it over and we tried it. We called it Next Door, and it was really great. We had a phenomenal kid in there who had worked for us and then went away and went to the Culinary Institute of America, and then he went to San Francisco and got like unbelievable experience, and then he came back. And I'm like, all right, well, let's do this concept. But if it was in existence now, we would be busting out of the seams there. People loved it, but it was a little before its time, and then the economy and all that.
It was still 2011.
Yeah.
The economy just wasn't quite there yet.
And it was a drag on us,
Yeah.
man. And it was I take pride in the fact our accountant was like, y'all need to declare bankruptcy on this thing and close it. And I'm like, no, we're going to close it. I'm going to call all the vendors.
Yep.
We're going to work a payout off. And that's what we did,
Yeah.
man. We
pay all the employees, make sure they all have good lead time,
That's
pay
right.
all of our vendors, keep
But
our credit.
How
in
much?
good
How
standing.
much money did you end up having to pay?
That
out?
probably cost us
$200?
$200,000, and it was
Which probably in the grand scheme of restaurant life is not a lot, but that's a hickey. Because we already took the hickey in 09, 10, digging out. So it was a pretty ambitious
right.
move, but it was something we felt like we wanted to do. There was a romantic tie to the building. It's where when J Bistro was there, it was where Ben and Mariana and Mary Catherine and I all had our first dinner together, and we're like, everybody talked about how they wished there could be a J Bistro vibe back again, and so we thought we could give something back to the community that people would embrace.
Do you ever get superstitious about that? I'm just going to this building,
Snake bitten buildings location,
because that building is. I mean, really, it's really no different than. But it makes me kind of go, nothing ever really succeeds.
Well, we put the wrong concept there. The concept should have been like the Rocket Burger concept, like a little burger joint kind of deal. But I didn't want to do that because we already kind of did hamburgers and quesadillas and stuff like that. So Hank Holliday, who was a great restaurateur in this town for years and years and
is
years.
that Hank's?
Yeah, Hank's, Peninsula Grill, the Planters Inn, all that. Hank's really sharp guy, and he came in one day and he lives over on Toller's Cove, and he on his way home every once in a while would stop in and have a glass of Chardonnay. And anyway, I was talking with him one night, and he was like, "Why would you want to compete with yourself?" Like, and I was just like, that was the moment where I was like, "Oh man, But there's a great restaurant group in Houston that I grew up with, which is the Good Family, Goode, and they had Good Company Barbecue, they had Good Company Seafood, they had all these restaurants all in the same area. But you're in a metropolitan area of 6 million people. It works, because you build a reputation here. When we came to Charleston to build the Red Drum, I thought Charleston was a city, coming from Houston. And I was like, it really kind of wasn't. It didn't have the corporate, like I was thinking that we were going to have, medical dinners and insurance, get-togethers, all these things that did not exist until recently when you have like Boeing coming in and
Volvo. I mean, Charleston really has grown a ton since we've opened.
It's unbelievable. And it was good for us because we were able to buy the property in 2012, just before the banks, they just weren't lending money to anybody other than someone who was already in the business demonstrating that they could pay the note. And we just I couldn't believe when we went to the bank and asked for, I was like, what y'all gonna give us the money to buy this thing? And yeah, it's been great.
I'm going to tell you a question, then we're going to go to our last break, but I want you to think about it. If you can recall the restaurants that were around Charleston, Mount Pleasant area when you opened versus are they still open today? That's what I'm curious about. because people don't realize how hard this business really is. Guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. We'll be right back.
If you're like most successful business executives, you would probably rather stick your arm in a bucket of snakes than formulate a strategy for your insurance and financial needs. Who even understands estate planning, 401k plans, or key men insurance? We do. We are Double E, your virtual Chief Insurance and Financial Officer. Let us free you up to do more of what you do best and less of what we do better. Call 843-936-6352. EELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial EE LLC and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. We're sitting here talking to Ben Berryhill and Charlie Chance, owners of the Red Drum Restaurant, the Rocket Burger food truck. I got to tell you a quick story in a second about the Rocket Burger. But you guys are listening to this inside the Double E Studios. And if you prefer to watch our interviews, please go to YouTube and type under the search menu, the Shrimp Tank Charleston, and you can go to our channel. And you can watch not only this interview, but all the other previous episodes and enjoy. But you get to see how gorgeous Charlie Chance and Ben Berryhill really are. So check that out. So I asked you the question about the restaurants that were in the area versus are they still around today? If you had to say, if I just randomly said, I'm going to call out 30 restaurants that were around when you were starting, how many would you say are still alive out of the 30?
I don't know, 10, 15 maybe.
Yeah, I'd give it a, yeah.
So a 50%.
Maybe 50.
Maybe 50%. I'd maybe say.
I mean, there's some really great Mount Pleasant restaurants. I mean, Patrick Owens does an unbelievable job.
I'd
Everything
give Patrick a big
Yeah.
20. The Langdons just hit their 20-year mark.
Yeah. And then
Incredible.
Wooden Grain, just Meredith and I love going to Wooden Grain.
He's in my top 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
we've seen a lot
come and go.
And
the big ones that were opened when we opened, what was the one over on
Zinc?
And then across the way behind Starbucks, there have been two or three.
There's been two or three there, right?
You think that new concept that's going in there is going to make it?
I have no idea. I hope so.
I hope.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Are
they open yet?
No, they're staffing.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
It's tough.
Staffing's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you being an existing business gives you an advantage.
Huge advantage. Because the staff knows, particularly front of the house staff, they know they're going to make really good money consistently.
Well, and they're going to get paid.
And if you were to set up a new restaurant tomorrow, you would have a slight advantage because you could take advantage of your staff from Red Drum.
Yeah, you got to be. We did a little of that. We've done a little of that at time to time through different ventures, and it's, you're poaching from, you're taking someone for a reason, and the reason is probably because they're just really strong and really contribute. So you're kind of taking something away from the restaurant, and then I feel like
it's kind of like swinging. Like, hey, I'm going to let you swing with my other restaurant. Just thought of that just now. Sorry.
I don't know much about swinging, but I think
I
think
I don't either.
I think if we were to do another restaurant in Mount Pleasant, Coleman Boulevard, I have two great concepts.
I know you and I have talked about one of them. This is a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. But Mount Pleasant is all about location, 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 and then on top of that, it's gotten incredibly expensive because of all the people.
But I have to give Patrick Owens a lot of credit. That location where his stuff is not good.
Right. No, you're right. It's
amazing.
It is good, but it's not flashy. It's not freestanding. It's not out on the corner road, but it's in the he's in a great neighborhood.
He's in a great
Everywhere
neighborhood.
he is,
Ion.
he's in a great neighborhood.
I mean, Ion's.
I agree, but you're just never. It's not like your location. It's not out in front of your face, and yet he has been successful to make it work. I mean, there's got to be so many restaurants that just had the wrong location but the right food, but no one knew about it. And it's just people don't realize how hard I think it really is. I want to give props to the Rocket Burger, because my wife about 3 weeks ago was starving, and she tries to eat healthy and this and that, and she's like, screw it, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to get one burger, no fries. I'm just going to go and get one burger.
That's healthy. What's not healthy about that?
It is. Your meat is completely 100% healthy. It's good for the heart. It's all that stuff is good. But she ate that burger, and I still have to listen to it. She's like, it's the greatest burger
It's a good
I've
burger.
ever
good burger.
had. And I think I make
And
the
the hot
best
dog.
burger.
By the way, the hot
hot
dog's
dog.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've had the hot dogs. I've had the burgers.
Yeah.
I think mine are better, but that's just my home recipe thing.
Oh, what do you put in your burger? They're
Caviar
burger.
and sour cream. You heard it here, along with the pickle juice and Chopin to go with it. Not real caviar, the imitation.
imitation.
Yeah,
There you go.
But the little teeny black
Maybe
ones. It's
we
hard
should
to
put some
find.
imitation crab on it too. That could be good.
Well, I don't know, but don't steal my idea, or I'll sue you for it. But all right, so let's fast forward. Then I got some questions from subscribers that want to hear your advice. 5 years from today, where is Ben Berryhill? What does it look like? And where is Charlie Chance, and what does it look like?
Can Charlie go first?
Personally and professionally.
Oh my goodness. 5 years from now,
What are you going to be?
what am I doing?
How old are you?
51,
Okay, so 56.
56.
Not Medicare eligible.
I win the lottery. We've
I
talked
think-
about this
I think
actually.
you've already won the lottery.
I
Anyway.
win the lottery. We're gonna take money that I've got. I got a ton of money at this point, right?
Okay.
And then I'm gonna pay off all debt from the drum, the real estate, the whole 9 yards. And then we're gonna take all of our staff, and we're gonna turn it into a co-op, to where they have to run this thing at
So you're going to have like an ESOP.
and keep it in the black, and that's the challenge, right? And then Ben and I are going to step back, right? And it's just
Just
gonna
take distributions.
just take distributions, and then when they get in the red, they're fired.
And where are you personally?
Oh, I'm sitting in the Bahamas.
All right. So you bought a place in the Bahamas 5 years from now.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. That sounds very unrealistic. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah,
was good.
I've-
Everything was good,
yeah.
other than the lottery win.
I'm lucky in life in many, many aspects. I have Meredith, my beautiful wife. I have a wonderful son. I have a wonderful partnership. I do think about it more and more. I'm 58 this year, and so 5 years I'll be in my 60s, and I've been doing this a long time, 42 years in kitchens, and so I do think about these things. I would love to see the Red Drum go on kind of into the next thing. I don't know though that a 20-year run in this business is a really good run. And what we've built, we have built a life for ourselves outside of the restaurant because of good, smart business decisions, real estate. We just bought the property next to the restaurant as well. So we kind of have a...
You've been threading the needle, which I would say is probably different from a lot of just typical restaurant owners, where
Yeah.
you diversified into owning your real estate.
Right.
You
I mean, it's unheard of. Chef owning his property. I mean, I know a couple of guys that I've gone to school with who've done it, but it's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
it's definitely
it's
a
pretty
minority
unique
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then on top of it, people go, "Oh, well, you only have your one restaurant in the Rocket Burger." But what I go, because I know business, where I go is you all generate a lot of revenue, and that one restaurant produces a lot of, let's call it wealth for you all plus anyone that works there. Whereas what people sometimes don't realize is, oh yeah, I have 6 restaurants, which a lot of times equals I have 6 different notes of debt, and 4 out of the 6 are producing or unproducing, and you're producing more profit, and let's call it profit, forget the revenue. You're producing a lot, for the most part, in my opinion, more profit than a lot of these big organizations are having quantity.
Well,
which is congrats, because
yeah,
it's not
thank you.
easy.
So back to the answer, I think what we've created will either be able to at some point possibly pass that on to. I'd love for Charlie to buy me out. I'm for sale, Charlie. or someone else who might want to take Red Drum to the next level, and who may want to grow the concept. I think it's a good concept. I think that we could do that given the right partnership, or we shut it down and lease it out at some point. It's
you
it's
got
a
a great piece
space,
spot.
or we redevelop the property. There's other opportunities there as well. So, I feel like the future is bright. I don't think you'll see Charlie and I 5 years from now not doing anything, and hopefully,
I couldn't
and I think
imagine
we'll still
stopping.
be. I think Charlie and I are kind of partners for life in a way.
Which is also unusual that
Yeah.
you guys actually do like each other.
Oh, we love.
Oh,
each
we
other.
love each other. Yeah.
He's great.
How many times a year do you think, Charlie, you come home to Mary Catherine and say, fucking Ben
He's
drives
an
me
ass.
fucking crazy?
How many times a week? You mean?
Well,
What is
well,
it?
so Mary Catherine and Ben are also
A lot like.
a lot alike, and they're also like very good friends.
Yeah.
And so, there are those moments when you're like, you're like, God damn, he's being such a,
How many
but-
times?
but the thing
would
is-
you say a dozen
but
times
the-
a year?
We have a couple. We had a pretty good blowout last year. One. But we always.
But we don't-
We get past it.
we
like,
get
really-
past it
really quick.
Yeah, we
Oh,
don't.
but that's
we don't
his
hold,
nature.
We don't hold. Well, his too.
Actually, mine
It
is-
really is Ben. Like,
Really?
I preach it all the time at the restaurant. I'm like, look, man, this is a living, moving, fluid situation. Tempers, heat, all kinds of things are happening. And when I walk out of that door, if I wake up the next morning and I'm still worked up about something, then that's all I'm doing in the morning is like addressing that and taking care of that.
and
Which-
move- and
that's
mo-
a lot
and-
of
and
guts.
moving on.
And moving on.
But see,
Most
that's
people don't do that.
But see, that's the beauty of, that's why I love Ben.
Would you do that, or would you hold it in?
I'm little.
He holds it
I
a
hold it
little
in a little more
until he blows.
Until I blow, and so that's what's actually funny about the front of the house staff that typically
It's tough.
that I'm
It's
guiding is so they're used to Ben every day like cracking that whip on them, calling them out for everything, which is awesome, and they're used to me kind of observing. Listen, I dress them and I say what it is that is wrong and right.
Charlie makes suggestions.
Like, yeah, I'm a little more of a hey, you might want to.
But if you get pissed,
Dude, they're like, oh my God, holy shit. I've never seen this guy that way. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoop.
Yeah.
So, so our management style really works. It complements each other, in my opinion,
It's
really
funny, 'cause
well.
I'm kind of the given bad cop.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it kind of works out that I get to be the good cop. If Charlie's getting a little riled up, everybody's like, ooh.
well, I think it's amazing. I always say to people, more than one partner is too many partners, if you can. But it's pretty good, the relationship you guys have nurtured over the years and
We have
But it
other
takes-
we have other partners, and
Yeah.
they're silent, but they're also great partners, and that we can go to them. Mariana, who's brilliant in this business, and I like to qualify everything with the Red Drum. Mariana was kind of the fairy dust. Like, she really put a great spin on the restaurant. Mary Catherine in the background is
he's talking about
Marianne
his
is
first
my
wife.
first wife and mother of my son, and still partner.
And it's great that you have such a good relationship with her, and then you have, of course, Meredith, who is just if you talk bad about Meredith, I got to be honest with you, then you got to move on.
Yeah, you're right.
You got to go take medication. All right, because we're running out of time. I got to get to these questions from these subscribers who have been waiting anxiously to hear the answers, but I need solid, quick answers just because of timing. And I'm kind of hungry. I haven't had anything to eat, so I got to go eat.
I'm with you on that.
All right. This is Riley from Houston, Texas, your old stomping grounds.
Hometown.
What did the CIA provide you that you wouldn't have learned had you not gone there? Did you get a lot from the CIA?
Yeah, just the technical method, technique, skill level, and the confidence in my ability, because I learned it the right way. Just the basic fundamentals of cooking. The CIA's, in my opinion.
Did they teach you about how to run a restaurant too? Is there some of that?
No, there's definitely some of that. They touch on a lot of things. Now you can get a 4-year degree there. It was a 2-year degree when I was there, but and you can go A to Z. But I just
What year were you there?
I graduated in, I think it was 91.
Okay.
November of the 91. Or
I went to
November
visit
92.
my buddy there in Hyde Park, New York.
Did y'all go by the school at all?
I just remember like the apartment he lived in was such a dump, and it was so gloomy there. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like something.
Parts of the year can be a little.
Yeah, I think I drove down from Boston or something. Okay, Janice from Charleston, South Carolina. Do y'all know anybody named Janice?
We do.
Oh well, this might be her. I am known to be a great cook and told to open a restaurant and share my recipes with the world. What advice would you give me on opening a restaurant? Is that Janice, you think?
No, that's not our Janice. I wouldn't.
Not the
think.
Janice I know, but
Yeah.
but my advice would be to
Go work at one.
go
first.
work at one first. And Ben, you always said the one thing that you didn't learn at CIA that, in hindsight, that they should have taught was AC, refrigeration, electric repairs.
Yeah.
That would be
Thermocouplers.
Right.
All
You could save yourself a lot of headaches, time, and money if you
Well,
could,
I would
if you could
never
fix basic things.
I would never discourage
Really?
you,
Yeah, man.
Janice.
I would have never thought about that.
But I will tell you, it is a incredibly difficult business to get started in. So therefore, if you're going to do that, your recipes and your cooking ability is probably phenomenal. Make sure you have the capital, and make sure that you're able to afford to lose that capital and it won't hurt you, because there is a possibility.
And who knows if Janice even is a good cook? Like she's saying it. Jeez, Janice.
Sounds like everybody.
I'm just teasing
sounds
Janice.
like
Just remember,
Everybody thinks that.
they say that you don't really start making money until year 3.
3 takes
you
3
just-
years.
you gotta-
What, to just break even or make money,
Well,
or one of the two?
one of the two, right? And then make sure your location is good, that your food is really good. I mean, they say that you got to have the 3 things, right? Great staff, great food, great location. If you can nail those 3, usually you might have a chance.
I'm dropping the mic on that. All right. David from Beverly Hills, California. I've always wanted to be a partner in a restaurant, but have no knowledge in the food and beverage business. What advice would you give me on being a silent partner?
Don't do it.
Well, I always tell people, if you have
Everybody thinks it's cool.
Yeah,
to-
if you have like $500,000 to invest in restaurant business, if you'll give me that $500,000, I'll hand you back $250,000, and I'll have saved you $500,000. It's really not.
what's
Profitable.
what is the margin?
There's
Typical.
it's incredibly tight.
So it's really tight. So they say like I know some guys that own Little Caesars, and 10% is a pretty normal number for something like that has a lot of simplicity, scale, and whatnot. But
It can be 10 to 20%, but in fine dining.
but fine dining, you're 6 to 8%.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and now especially
Well, I
with
mean,
the way food costs have just.
food costs,
labor costs.
Insurance.
I bet it's
Ridiculous.
5%.
Extortionist.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk. I just had dinner there at your restaurant recently and was like, God, this was expensive. And I paid for the dinner for everyone. And
You're good like that.
it was a lot. I was like, damn. All right, Jerome in Greenville, South Carolina. I own a food truck and earn about $50,000 a year, but want to either scale and have more food trucks or open a restaurant. Not sure what my next steps should be. So what would you suggest?
Greenville, South Carolina or North Carolina?
South.
Well, food trucks are really a cool little phenomenon that's, happened over the last 7 or 8 years.
Is that a lot, making $50K on a food truck?
He's probably, he's making a living doing it, but that's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. So if you scale with a food truck, you're probably going to have to scale with other concepts. If you're in one metropolitan area, I would think, I don't know that I would build another Rocket Burger truck.
Yeah, dude, you would do tacos or barbecue definitely.
Something, noodles or whatever. So yeah, if you're going to scale, then if you could get 3 or 4 going and you could make $50,000 off of each of,
It's kind of like you're owning these little franchises,
right?
Then you have something.
Well,
but remember, you're not going to be able to be in every truck all the
Right.
time. So maybe you're going to be paying people to do what you're doing now.
How much money capital do I need to if you had to get on
100,
Well, so-
100 grand.
100 grand. So that's to
120
me.
grand.
To me, it's I would have 3 of them because you can't build a restaurant for 100 grand.
No.
You can't build a restaurant for 500 grand. I mean, you could, but
It'd have to be existing and turnkey. Kind of. You can walk in.
Interesting.
plus you need working capital. Plus you need, so to me, I think that is why food trucks really are really popular because you can build something that's fairly cash flowing pretty quickly for minimal amounts of capital in it. And then as far as staffing is concerned, we have 55 employees at the restaurant, but you're looking at a staff of 5 to be open 5-6 days a week. So there's a lot of efficiency in that model.
Interesting. So that could be why don't y'all start a food truck franchise business?
That's happening here. Jason Hogg, that's what he's kind of. That is happening.
What about this rotating of employees that you can just pick up an employee to come work at there's like all these subcontractor waiters and there's that app or something. When that started here?
You're talking
Gig
about
Pro.
Gig Pro.
You kind of get what you pay for. It's like if you get a temporary person, they have a temporary mentality, and we use it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we've had times where we need extra dishwashers or whatever, but it's just you don't generally get someone who's really committed to doing things the way that you want it done because they're not there long enough to discover what that is.
Right. And I would never put any Gig Pro person out in the front of the house. I mean, it's we have a culture, we have
A way of doing things.
And they would not even know how to step into that role, let alone how to ring on the POS and
I mean, if they came from the same POS system, blah, blah, blah.
maybe, but I think pretty much it's just a stopgap when you're really desperate for a dishwasher.
I like this food truck franchise business.
Well,
Let's talk about that after.
I'll sell you the Rocket Burger.
All right, guys, it's been a great show today.
Thanks,
I hope you both enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Please check out our previous episodes on the various podcast channels and follow the show. If you're a visual person, then watch the interviews on the YouTube channel that we have, Shrimp Tank Charleston. I would love to connect with my listeners, so please follow us on Instagram. My handle is _E_LLC. The Shrimp Tank, Eric Elkins, or on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you or your company would like to have an enjoyable conversation about retirement, employee benefits, life insurance, protecting and growing your assets, just to name a few, I have to do a quick commercial. Sorry, guys. Then email us at service@EELLC.com or reach out by going to the EE website. We would love to hear from you. Website address again is www.double-ellc.com. If people want to get in touch with Charlie Chance and Ben Berryhill, how should they do that? Tell them your website. Give them whatever information.
You can do it through the Red Drum Restaurant website.
reddrumrestaurant.com.
reddrumrestaurant.com.
Right, or you can email us at thereddrumgastro, that's the only hard one, GASTRO @gmail.com.
Okay.
Call us at the restaurant, 843-849-0313.
And there's a pretty darn good chance the guy picking up the phone is going to sound like this.
Red Drum, how can I help you today?
Thanks for calling Red Drum. How may I help you?
Thanks for calling Red Drum. How can I help you today? Would you like some fried shrimp? That's what one of the great dishes we have here. Okay, lastly, if you think you know of someone that is an entrepreneur or leader making an impact in the world, that would be a great guest, then please contact our producer, Kristen Killman, at KK@WELC. Again, I'm Eric Elkins, and I focus on being a one percenter. Do you guys know what a one percenter is?
It's a bike gang thing,
What is it?
like a biker gang, like Hell's Angels,
One percenter?
one percenters.
I've never heard of that.
No.
Well, like Sons of Anarchy type
Yeah,
thing?
right.
No, it has nothing. That's terrible. That's a terrible answer. It's someone that does what 99% of people won't do.
Oh, okay. You do plumbing?
I focus on being a one percenter. Okay, guys. Great show. Thank you, Chase. Great first show. Chase took over the soundboard and did everything. You got to quit talking during the show, though, Chase. I appreciate it if you could keep it down. Guys, appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, sir.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. But it's
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, but in real life, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through their financial insurance portfolios. Double E provides clients an entertaining and unique experience. The Shrimp Tank Charleston Show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We dive into their journey and discover what drove them to become so successful. We will make sure we get out of them not only the wins, but also the losses that they have had on their journey. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, double-ellc.com.